Welcome again, I'm Aaron Bernstein. This video is all about beams. Why do we have them, and why do we beam through a bunch of notes some of the time and then break the beams at other times? Well, the answer is it doesn't really change how the music sounds at all, but it sure does make the music more legible. It's the difference between music that clearly shows the beat and music that is just a mess. So, let's begin. There's a good reason why the quarter note is so often used as the beat unit, and meters like 4/2 have mostly fallen out of use. Here's a measure of 4/2 time. 4 beats in the measure, and the half note is the beat. Now, if we divide each beat into 2 quarter notes, you can see the problem. The measure becomes a nightmare of quarter note stems. There's nothing wrong with the way this is notated, it's just easy to get lost visually. Now we're going to change this to 4/4 time. Still 4 beats in the measure, but the quarter note is the beat. Now we can divide each beat into 2 eighth notes, and it's much easier to read. That's because we can use beams now to clearly reflect each beat. So here are 2 measures of 2/4 time. 2 beats in each measure, and the quarter note gets the beat. Now we've divided and subdivided the beats into 8th and 16th notes. We've got beams, but we can't easily tell where each beat starts if we just continuously beam like this. So that's why we're going to break the beams here. Now we have beams within each beat, and we can clearly tell beat 1 from beat 2. So that's standard practice today. Break the beams between the beats, and suddenly our music is so much easier to read. So to get some practice at this, let's take some horribly misbeamed rhythm in 2/4 time and make it a lot more performance-friendly. First, if we want a beam to reflect the beat, we need to know where the beat is. Beat 1 is easy, at the start of the measure. But where does beat 2 start? Well, each beat has to add up to a quarter note, and any of these rhythm combinations we've learned will do the trick. 2 eighths, 4 sixteenths, an eighth and 2 sixteenths, 2 sixteenths and an eighth, 16th, 8th, 16th, or dotted eighth and 16th. So at the start of this measure, we can see 4 16th notes right away, and that takes care of beat 1. I'll draw a beatbox around it, so we'll know where to break the beam. And now we also know where beat 2 begins, 2 16ths and an eighth, and that's our second beat. Finally, we break the beam in between the beatboxes, and measure 1 is properly beamed. On to measure 2. Beat 1 starts here, and the first 3 notes will fill up our beat, an eighth and 2 16ths. Draw a beatbox, and that shows us where beat 2 starts. The second beat has 4 16ths, and that's a rep. Break the beam between your beatboxes, and measure 2 is done. Okay, third measure. The first 2 eighth notes give us beat 1, and beat 2 has the dotted eighth and 16th. Remember, each beat needs to add up to a quarter note. Break the beam between your boxes, and now you can clearly see your 2 beats. Last measure. Our first beat will be filled by 2 16ths and an eighth, and beat 2 is taken care of with 2 eighths. Break that beam, and now our complete rhythm is properly notated. Let's clap it and say the rhythm syllables. Ticka-ticka-ticka-tee, tee, ticka-ticka-ticka-tee, tee, tim-ka-ticka-tee, tee, tee. Now imagine trying to do all that with the beaming the way it looked before. Yikes. Let's do another one. This time we'll be in 3/4, and not only is the beaming a mess, but we can't even tell where the bar lines ought to be. Right now, the only thing we do know is the first beat of measure 1, here. Alright, let's begin. Each beat has to add up to a quarter note, and 2 16ths and an eighth will do the job. So I put a beatbox around that, and we've got beat 1. Now we know where beat 2 begins, and you can see it's going to be filled by an eighth and 2 16ths. Another beatbox, and now we found beat 3. 2 16ths and an eighth again, and now we have all 3 beats in the first measure boxed in. Okay, here's my favorite part. We re-beam everything so that the beams stay inside each beatbox. Then we can break the beams between the boxes. Here's beat 1, beat 2, and beat 3. And measure 1 is all done. Throw down a bar line, and let's move on to measure 2. Here's beat 1 again. We start with a dotted eighth note, and we know that just one more 16th note gives us a full beat. So there's beat 1. Now we can take the next 4 16th notes, and that'll do it for beat 2. Put in your box, and here's where beat 3 starts. Looks like it's going to be 2 16ths and an eighth. Our third beat is done. All right, let's rebeam to stay within each beat, and then break the beams between your boxes. Beat 1, beat 2, and beat 3. Throw down another bar line, and we're in measure 3. First beat couldn't be easier. 2 eighth notes, and done. Beat 2 starts here. A little trickier this time. It's our syncopated rhythm, 16th, 8th, 16th. And that's beat 2. Finally, we have an eighth and 2 16ths, and beat 3 will be glad to take that off your hands. Okay, rebeam. Beat 1, beat 2, and finally beat 3. We did it. Let's clap this rhythm now and say the rhythm syllables. Tick-a-tee, tee, tick-a-tick-a-tee. Tim-ka, tick-a-tick-a-tick-a-tee. Tee, ka-tee, ka-tee, tick-a. Now let's try to get the beat in there. Remember, we just replaced the first rhythm syllable with the beat number. Here we go. 1 ka-tee, 2 tick-a, 3 ka-tee. 1 ka-2 ka-tick-a, 3 ka-tee. 1 tee, 2 tee, ka-3 tick-a. There we go. Let's practice that one more time. 1 ka-tee, 2 tick-a, 3 ka-tee. 1 ka-2 ka-tick-a, 3 ka-tee. 1 tee, 2 tee, ka-3 tick-a. And that's what you can do with beams. Well done. Now, if you want some more practice at this, I've got plenty of worksheets that'll help you become an expert at beaming to reflect the beat. And just keep in mind, as soon as you're done with one of these pages, make sure you go back and clap the rhythms while saying the rhythm syllables out loud. It's one thing to understand it on the page, it's quite another to understand it here. I'm Aaron Bernstein, and I will see you next time.